Channel 2 investigation is looking into millions of dollars in donations given to the Humane Society of the United States. A national consumer organization says HSUS solicits pet lovers for money, but little to none of that money ever goes to help local shelters. Channel 2's Amanda Rossiter here now with more.
Well, John, HSUS admits the majority of its money does not go to shelters, but says it does a lot more to help animals in other ways around the world. Critics say HSUS intentionally misleads consumers just to get donations.
These dogs survive the wretched conditions of a puppy mill.
It's very deceptive.
We are the voice for those who don't have one of their own.
This is the HSUS, the Humane Society of the United States, reaching out for donations from animal lovers.
For just $19 a month.
They do their marketing very well, that's for sure.
But you might be surprised to learn there's virtually no connection with your local Humane Society. Critics say the national organization takes advantage of people who think they're giving to local shelters. The Cab's Paw Shelter says there's certainly no regular funding help from the $100 million HSUS budget.
I think that some of the folks who donate to the national organizations, they may be under the false pretense, by no fault to their own, they may be under the false pretense that that money is going to a local cause.
Also gets media coverage and donations doing it. But the puppies then go to local shelters, who then have to pay and care for them.
They may have the resources to initialize a rescue, but again, the animals go to a local shelter somewhere in the country.
Critics say HSUS also takes advantage of high-profile events. After Hurricane Katrina, HSUS CEO Wayne Passell promised on national television to reunite pets with their owners and raised $34 million for the cause. But public disclosures of where that money went add up to less than $7 million. The Louisiana Attorney General launched an 18-month-long investigation. A report for 2007 shows $120 million in revenue, including $5.4 million just from online donors. Then there's $112 million in expenses, most of which appears to have gone to legislation for animal rights bills. Here's that list as well. It includes... Now, late this morning, we received an email from HSUS pointing out that it has donated $6 million to shelters nationwide. However, a few weeks ago, we called more than 24 shelters here in Metro Atlanta, and we were told that the only time they get money from HSUS is for reimbursement for rescuing animals during a natural disaster.
A lot of those shelters are overflowing because of the economic conditions.
They say they sure could use some more help.
Yeah. Amanda.
I'm Bob Ingersoll, and I'm protesting on behalf of the chimpanzees that live at Project Chimps under the control of HSUS.
I'm here today to hold Susan Atherton accountable for the condition the chimps are living in Project Chimp.
These chimps were supposed to have a life free from harm, but instead they have been put in a place that is causing them further harm.
There have been 20 staff members that have made complaints to the board about the conditions that the chimps are living in.
This is completely unacceptable.
We're asking her and the board to drop the 2 lawsuits against the 2 whistleblowers
and to make changes at Project Chimps that would help our chimpanzee friends.
I know her because I know she's on the board of HSUS, and we're asking her to please stand up for these chimps that are under HSUS's care.
Well, you're going about it wrong.
And also,
these animals are great to our system.
Excuse me,
I don't think she's doing any harm. You have the wrong person.
reality is we have to stand up for these animals, and if we don't, nobody will.
Thank you for doing this. I'll see what I can do.
Yanking out their body hair! Susan Everton doesn't care!
We'll be back!
This is Donnie Moss with theirturn.net at the New York City home of HSUS board member Sharon Lee Patrick. Several dozen activists are here tonight to demand that Miss Patrick and her colleagues on the board of HSUS improve the abysmal welfare conditions at Project Chimps, which is an HSUS sanctuary in Georgia. Stop the cruelty, stop the pain. Sharon Patrick is to blame.
We want nothing more than to not be here, but Sharon Patrick needs to rise to her responsibilities.
These chimps are held in concrete enclosures for all but 10 hours a week. That's not a sanctuary, it's a warehouse. We are here to demand HSUS board member Sharon Lee Patrick and her colleagues transform Project Chimps from a warehouse into the sanctuary they claim it is. Sharon Patrick! Sharon Patrick! On November 30th, primatologist Dr. Steve Ross released the long-awaited results of an assessment that he conducted of Project Chimps, in which he gave the sanctuary a D, a 67% on the organization's welfare management programs. In particular, he noted that the chimps had very limited access to the outdoor habitat.
People are angry, they're hanging out their windows, telling us to go away. We don't want to be here, but we are going to keep coming back until HSUS does the right thing for these chimpanzees.
It's 30 degrees. I'd like to be home with my wife, but I feel this is really important. I care about the chimps.
We'll be back! We'll be back! We'll be back!
I'm Wanda Merling from the Humane Society of the United States, and we're here today transporting over 90 dogs that were available for adoption before Hurricane Michael impacted the Gulf Coast area here in Florida.
Michael, via airplane to Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington.
We drove for 10 hours until we found a place to stay. We took our dog, Sugar Bear. He went with us, of course, because this is a member of our family. We took him with us so he was safe because he is just a part of our family, just like my kids. When the Animal Control Center, Bay County Animal Control opened up, I was dealing with them. We went there multiple times. I want to say about 25 times to both places. Probably about the 23rd time, he told me, do not come back.
Via airplane to Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington.
We drove for 10 hours until we found a place to stay. We took our dog, Sugar Bear. He went with us, of course, because this is a member of our family. We took him with us so he was safe because he is just a part of our family, just like my kids. And all of a sudden, he come up missing. Neighbors and people that live in my area stated that they seen an organization coming in and picking up dogs, and I would never see him again. If we don't have him back, then the family's not complete. It barked, and you know you bark after 7 years. We heard a bark, and they said that it was not safe for us to go back there. A dozen times we went up there, we wasn't allowed back there due to no power. When they got power, we was not allowed to go back there still. And we left there thinking they had our dog, but when they won't let you in, we don't know what else to do.
I have a teddy bear.
Speak up. It's okay. She sleeps with him every night. He goes to the doctor with her, believe it or not.
I was going through my phone, and lo and behold, I see Little Joe's picture. And they had a cone on his head, and I could tell it was him. And they said they neutered him. And that he's here, and so I went, and as soon as I could get out there, we couldn't call there because there was no phone lines, and I said, I'm here to get Joe, and they're like, well, who's Joe? And I said, Little Joe, he's in the picture, and of course I couldn't find the darn picture right then, But they said, oh, well, he's been adopted out. I go, adopted out? It's 6 days. We just had a hurricane. And it's been 6 days. You know, it was 6 days. And they said, well, 3 days is the limit. I said, but there's a hurricane. People didn't even have no service. My brother has no car to get around or anything. So I was beside myself with that. I didn't know what to do. I was flipping out. They asked us to leave. My husband said, how do you do that? How can you just give a dog away, you know? And there's no phone lines to tell you that we missed our dog, or our dog was missing. And, you know, he said, I want my dog. And they said, well, it's too bad. He's been adopted out.
Organizations, have you heard anything about these big organizations
coming down and taking all the dogs away? I've tried everywhere. But like I said, I found his picture on the website. He was there. His name is Joe. I said he had a collar on. He even had a collar on where his address was. Out to them and said, you know, look, you got to help us try to get this dog back. This my brother's dog, you know, and it means the world to him. And we just had a hurricane. I don't know, but they were rude, very rude people. I want Joe to become home for him because he's just been sick ever since.
Basically, I have heard stories locally here where their pets come up missing and they can't find them, or the whole non-profit organization doing search wide on Oak Avenue right behind us.
My name's Troy Harden. We had a name tag on him if anything happened to him to call here where I work. And she had located where he had been taken. Bay County Rescue or
Bay County Animal Control?
Animal Control, yeah. And they wouldn't give her, they wouldn't release anything and all. And,
but they admitted she was there, or he was there.
They said they. And I got a friend of mine to drive me out, and we offered to pay double whatever, you know, whatever they had done, you know. They admitted they had it all. They seen the tag and said I had to get it within 24 hours or something. Well, I don't have any transportation and the phones are out. I've been calling you over and over. A friend of mine took me back out there a couple of days later, and same thing. Director's name.
Kathy.
Kathy, and our card and everything.
Another family in.
We actually went into, I was in active labor, so they life-flighted me out from Gulf Coast Regional Medical Center into Fort Walton Beach. We had pictures. I had the landlord coming over feeding the dogs, watering the dogs. Had a roommate that was feeding and watering the dogs. The 27th, they left a note saying that they was taken, and left a note saying that it was Hurricane Michael. Claimed they didn't know the name of them, but they had been to my house so many times before they knew exactly who my dogs were. They took both of them. I do know that they euthanized Chloe. On February the 8th, they would be 1 year old. They renamed Diamond Biscuit. They had her microchipped. I've traced the microchip, and they do have my name down as her owner.
Okay.
Biscuit, I actually had a lady go to the shelter and found her. And
what did
I have
you?
The paperwork, a picture of it. She sent me the microchip number, all that. They spayed her, the whole 9 yards, and they renamed her Biscuit.
Oh.
They took the mama dog to both of them. Chloe and Diamond are owners.
Okay.
But I know that Bay County has taken people's service dogs and adopted them out.
17. My cat, Casper, who was a pure white cat, was trapped in Bay County Animal Control. I called up there 2 hours later. Animal Control people told me he had already been neutered and adopted out. I told them they would soon be hearing from my attorney over the matter. I went down there a couple days later to talk to Kathy Beatson, the manager of Animal Control. She was extremely rude and not helpful at all. I asked just for the information to the farmer that supposedly adopted him so I could get my cat back. She refused to give me his number. She refused. Eventually, I took animal control to court, to small claims court. Approximately 4 or 5 months later, the county attorney a pure white cat who has just had surgery and raised ever since he was a kitten inside, stands no chance whatsoever of living. You know, and Miss Beatson knew this. She should have never put him in that position. She knew he was not a feral cat when she did this. This woman in no way, shape, form, or fashion should ever be allowed to be in the position she is in. And as an American vet, that cat was my pet. That was my baby. I'd had him ever since the day he was born, raised indoors. Miss Beatson knew this. She's done this dozens of times to dozens of people. They need to put an end to it. Thank you.
Society of North Texas, one of our absolute favorite shelters in the world, as we are flying 77 dogs from shelters in northern Texas to safety at St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center and more.
The animals. We believe our work speaks urgently to the problems of the planet and all of its inhabitants. Our vision is a world where sympathy and compassion are the norm for animals and people alike. We're laying the foundation for that by taking the fight to the largest and most serious threats to animals.
On Friday morning, arranged to transport more than 200 cats and around 20 dogs who had been in shelters in areas impacted by Hurricane Michael via airplane to Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington.
Communicating with the public about their donations for disasters is key, and we are proactive about it.